Hey, what's up guys, it's BenBonk and welcome back to the 56th Slimekeep Devlog. In this devlog, I added a bunch of new visual variety to the game. Also, if you're new here, Slimekeep is a fast-paced roguelike where you must kill and capture slimes to stop the corruption that's infected your land. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so for the longest time, you guys have been telling me that the game needs more visual variety, and that right now, everything looks the same. And honestly, this was a totally fair criticism and something that I wanted to address. Even if rooms become more corrupted as you progress to later days in the game, this didn't really help too much, and at the end of the day, everything was still just green. Now, I wanted to address this issue as it's something that I think is super important, but at the same time, I really just wanted to release Slimekeep once and for all, as it feels like development is really starting to wrap up. Now, in an ideal world, I would have tackled this issue from the start and considered that, hey, maybe it's not ideal for every room to look so similar, but oh well, here we are, likely a few months from release, and I've got to find a solution. Now, I had a few ideas for this, but let's start with the simple one. See, the game already has a chance for it to rain, so I figured why not make different kinds of weather that could spawn besides rain. So I got to work and started on a snow effect, as this seemed like the most obvious weather type that would look good in the game. After creating a few snowflake variations, I basically just copied over the rain particle system, tweaked some things, and set everything up in code. Now, similar to the rain system, there was a chance for the day to be snowy, which I thought was a nice touch, but I didn't want to stop there. So I also created foggy days, which just have this light fog overlay the screen, and windy days, which have these leaf thingies fly across the screen, which were heavily inspired by this level in Celeste. There's currently around a 1 in 3 chance for there to be weather on any given day, and this weather effect will be randomized from each of these 4 weather options. So yeah, overall, I think this weather system was a nice touch to help with the visual variety, but we still weren't quite done. See, a lot of the playtesters in my Discord server really believe that there should be some kind of biomes in the game with unique tile sets so every day just doesn't have this generic tile set. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the idea of biomes, and you guys have probably left hundreds of comments over the years requesting for this change. However, at the end of the day, I really just want to wrap up the game within the next few months, and don't think I really have it in me to look into such a big change so late into development, even if it would be cool. However, I still really did like the idea of utilizing new room tile sets, so my goal is to meet in the middle and not create full biomes per se, but still create tile set variations. After discussing with some of my playtesters, the idea we settled on that there would be a few unique tile set variations. Then on any given day, there would be a small chance that one of these variations could override the normal tile set and change the whole look of the game for a day. It wouldn't really necessarily change gameplay that much, but oh well. Anyways, after brainstorming a few ideas for some tile set overrides that I thought could be cool, I got equipped hats in my Discord to help me with the actual art for these tile sets. And while they were at work, it was time to figure out how to actually override tiles in the game. At first, my thought was just to manually remake all rooms in the game with the new tile sets. However, I pretty quickly realized that this would not be scalable at all and take ages to do. So I needed to find a way to override all the tiles in the game via code. But before diving into that, if you want to learn to code yourself, check out the sponsor of today's video, Cody. Cody makes learning to code fun and engaging through their online courses. If you really want to learn Python, for example, you can check it out here and dive right in. Each of these courses are super gamified and makes learning to code actually fun with their integrated IDE and bite-sized lessons. And if you get stuck, well, you can always ask their AI to help you out. But if you like a more guided learning experience, you can also check out their journeys, which take you through learning a programming language from scratch. You can earn score and streaks along the way to help keep you motivated and make the learning process fun and engaging. Cody also has these personalized AI-generated challenges based on your interests and levels of knowledge if you want something to keep your skills sharp. And best of all, Cody is completely free to use. It only requires a subscription if you want to learn to code without limits, which are very reasonable as is. So check out Cody by clicking the link in the description to take your code learning journey to the next level. Thanks to Cody for sponsoring today's video. Anyways, after a few days of brainstorming and testing things out, I actually had a system that seemed to work. Basically, I created this tileset override scriptable object which just contained a list of tile objects. The idea with this tileset override object is that there would be 2 instances of it for each tile type in the game. The first instance would be what I call a searcher object, or like a key in a dictionary. This scriptable object would contain a list of all the variations for a given tile. So take for example this tile in Slimekeep. Things would be really easy if there's only one of these tiles in the game, but unfortunately there aren't, and we have a bunch of corrupted variations. So for my searcher scriptable object, I just have to add all these possible tile variations to the tiles list. Now, on the other hand, we have another instance of the tileset override object, which contains a list of my newly created tiles that can override any one of the tiles in the searcher object. Alright, now that we have both of these instances, I can write up an algorithm to replace all the tiles in a given day. We start by looping through every tile in a given tile map, and for each tile, we simply check if the searcher object contains this tile. If the searcher object does contain this tile, then we set that tile to be the specified one found in the matching override tiles instance. Then we repeat this for all tiles in the game, and there are a lot of them. Not only do we have to worry about all the possible wall tiles and their corrupted variations, but also these inside wall tiles, the floor tiles, the floor texture tiles, and so on. Basically what I'm saying is that overriding tiles in runtime this way is really slow, as for each tile in a massive grid, I'm checking if that tile is one of like 100 or something tiles that need to be replaced, and if so, matching the tile to the appropriate tile override. But once this process is complete, the full tile map will be overridden with completely new tiles that still match the layout of the original tile map. I'm sure there is a much more efficient and just better way to do this, but whatever, I'm just really happy I actually managed to tackle this problem myself and get a solution working. Basically in Unity, I created this tileset override script with lists for all the tileset override scriptable objects. And then I created a bunch of tileset override scriptable object instances, which took ages just manually assigning everything. But with this replace tiles algorithm in place, things seemed to actually be working in game, which was awesome. The only thing left needed was those tileset overrides, and by this point, Equipped Hats had finished up with some of the tileset variations, which I tested out. The first one we had is what I call the Catacombs, which has this whole dark theme that I thought looked super sick. And the other tileset variation we had was the Wastelands, which was somewhat similar to the default tileset, but just looked even more corrupted, and had the outside fog being a dark green color instead of light green. Now, those are the only two variations I moved forward with for now. See, Hats did make a third, being this desert concept, which I liked, but just couldn't move forward with as the ground was too bright. And that's been a big struggle with visual variation when testing out some of these tileset concepts. You want every tileset to look different, but with only 4 colors, that is really hard, especially considering the fact that you can't use light green or yellowish colors as the ground/floor tiles, as they kind of burn the player's eyes. But something that should be burning your eyes should be the wishlist button on the Slimekeep Steam page, as it's something that you should really be clicking. It takes like 2 seconds to wishlist the game on Steam and helps me out a ton, so consider clicking the link in the description. But anyways, I just settled on these 2 new tilesets to have a chance to override any given day past day 2 in the game. It's fairly small, but every now and then you'll get an override, which I do think helps, even if it may not change the actual gameplay all too much. Anyways, although the system was mostly done now, I still wanted there to be some unique decorations that would appear only when it was a Catacombs or Wasteland day. So with some art help from Equipped Hats once again, we had all these new decorations that would be randomly scattered across the level depending on the tileset override. This definitely helped a bit, and I figured that if I was going to have a few unique decorations for the 2 tileset overrides in the game, it would also make sense to have a few unique decorations for the weather variations. So I also added in some raindrop splash effects when it rains, and these snow pile thingies when it snows, which just made the world feel a little more alive. But anyways, those are the changes I made to help out with visual variation in the game. I know it's really not ideal in gameplay change or anything, but I do think this is a decent solution given the fact that I'm trying my best just to get Slimekeep out there as soon as possible. However, feel free to let me know what you think. Anyways, moving on, we still had a few other things to touch on in this devlog. Firstly, I got a few complaints from playtesters that there weren't enough unique and fun room designs, especially these certain rooms that kind of throw you off and maybe utilize a certain slime's ability. So I created 12 new combat rooms to just help out with this a bit. It's nothing crazy, but for example, we now have a room with a sleepy slime surrounded by crates, and a room that's just a ton of small regular slimes. I think these are overall a nice addition, but something else that I think is a nice addition is Tipbert, another new NPC. But instead of living in the actual world, Tipbert lives inside of your computer. Basically, one of my playtesters, Eve, had the idea for a tip of the day kind of NPC. This NPC is pretty self-explanatory and gives out a tip every day on the computer, or more like every few days, because I'd run out of good tips if Tipbert gave out tips every day. Anyways, after creating Tipbert, you can see him pop up in the bottom right hand corner of your computer in the game. If you see an exclamation point over his face, he'll give you a tip, which can be about really anything. And even if you don't see an exclamation point over him, you can still kind of talk to him by listening to him yap about random stuff. But that's Tipbert, just a nice little change in my opinion. But for the final change of this video, it's time to address something that had been bugging me for literally years now, and that is the tutorial in the game. Long story short, this tutorial sucked. Now, I tried to fix it on like 5 different occasions over the years, all to no avail, so once and for all, I wanted to redo the whole tutorial and actually make it good. See, the current tutorial in the game was just really static and boring. It really wasn't interactive at all and contained a ton of boring text that would just fade onto the screen. Now, instead of just trying to make slight tweaks to this pre-existing tutorial that I had made, like I do in the past, I figured it'd be best you start from scratch all over again. So bye bye old tutorial, you will not really be missed. Also, bye bye to this tutorial guy that would pop up in the actual game. You may remember that I introduced him a few devlogs ago to help make the tutorial be a bit more interactive, but I ended up getting some pretty overwhelming feedback that he was more annoying than helpful, so oh well. Anyways, I got to work on the new tutorial with a focus on making it more fun and interactive with much less reading involved. Fast forward a few days later, because I didn't record much of this process, and boom, here we go, new tutorial done. Now, instead of going down the start screen to do the tutorial, you can instead talk to this guy who will take you there. Notably, when starting, this tutorial feels a lot more like an actual day in the game. It still teaches the player the basics of Slimekeep, but in a much more interactive way, teaching basics like combat and capturing by actually making the player do it to progress. Overall, this tutorial felt so much better in my opinion than the previous one, and thankfully my playtesters seem to agree. So I should be done once and for all with reworking the tutorial, hopefully. But with that said, that's all I have for this devlog. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure to wishlist Slimekeep on Steam and consider subscribing. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.